trust our guys and our engineers. I think that in the end we are pretty happy about the lineup of the riders and the we'll see, because as you know, till mid-championship nobody can know who will fight finally for the championship. I think that we will be there since the first race, and we trust a lot our riders.
Thanks, Davide.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much to Jack. Thanks to factory Ducati boss Davide Tardozzi. Now, we told you we were going to have another very special guest join us in the commentary box, and I'm absolutely thrilled. It gives me so much pleasure to welcome current KTM test rider, former Moto2 world champion, and just all-round good guy, Paul Espargaro, into the commentary box. Paul, first of all, thanks very much for joining us. And looking at the timing screens, Pedro Acosta fastest. It looks like you've done a very good job with that new KTM.
Thank you very much. I'm thrilled also because his personality and this is something that it's very difficult to find.
Paul, you're sat here, of course, in the orange and blue of KTM. We know you've got close connections to the Austrian factory, but of course, in your first season full-time away from racing, you've been doing a lot of work with our TV colleagues in Spain, DAZN. I've heard that you're absolutely phenomenal, fantastic at your new job. So we'll talk a little bit more generally about this year's MotoGP and what we might see in 2025 as well. First of all, the new number one, Jorge Martin, 32 podiums in 40 races. You know, we've seen Jorge come back through some difficult moments, some big injuries. He has been fantastic this season, and when you think how good Pecco Bagnaia was as well, for Jorge to beat him and win the championship was something special this year.
Yeah, when you see the numbers and you see Pecco Bagnaia finish second in the championship, what?
With 18 he won 18 races.
Yeah, it's just wow, it's insane that you know, that Pecco have not won the world title this year with not the same resources that Pecco. It means that he was working a lot to make it, and his talent is huge.
I'm sure at DAZN you've spoken a lot, of course, about Marc Márquez, a rider you know very well, of course, former teammate with him. Are you as excited as the rest of us to see him and Pecco Bagnaia in the same box next year?
Yeah, for sure. It's impossible not to say so, because, you know, they are two very big names. I mean, there is a lot of, after this year, a lot of victories and so many titles, world titles in just inside the pit box. And it's been a while since we don't see this such a strong bike with such a strong two riders in the same team. You know, it's like, I hope the results are not exactly the same, but you know, we are seeing in football Real Madrid this year, you know, like having an amazing names on the team, but not reaching the very...
The quest to reclaim the number one is going to plan for Pecco Bagnaia. The 63, as we now have to get used to calling him once again. He is fastest at the end of this first morning. Track is going to remain open during the upcoming hours, so if you do want to continue to follow what's going on, MotoGP social media channels and, of course, the live timing available on MotoGP.com will keep you bang up to date with what's happening. And if anything of note does happen during the next hour, we will bring you well and truly up to speed when we come back on air in an hour's time. For today, Pecco Bagnaia then, the former world champion, quickest so far from Alex Marquez and Pedro Acosta. Fine fourth for Maverick Vinales so far on his KTM debut. Fabio Quartararo fifth for Yamaha ahead of Brad Binder and Joan Mir. Frankie Morbidelli for VR46, eighth ahead of the two factory Aprilias of world champion Jorge Martin and Marco Bezzecchi. Ralph Fernandez 11th ahead of Marc Márquez and Johan Zarco. Alex Rins for Yamaha next up ahead of Honda test rider now Aleix Espargaro. Luke Marini had a crash at turn 5 early on. He's 16th ahead of Miguel Oliveira for the Pramac Yamaha squad, not Ducati as it says on your screens there. Michele Pirro next up ahead of our first rookie Fermin Aldeguer, and Ea Bastianini 20th for Tech 3 KTM ahead of Jack Miller, Somkhat Chantra, Iagora and Lorenzo Savadori.
So Pecco Bagnaia's quest to reclaim the number one plate in 2025 has started with him P1 in the early throes of 2025. He leads the Barcelona test here in Catalonia. We will see you in about an hour's time for further live coverage from Catalonia as Pecco Bagnaia makes the early running in 2025.